Go for Side Effects is sponsored by Wild Branch Products. Wild Branch is a truly pure cannabis oil. They make CBD containing 0.00% THC and no carrier oils. Use Wild Branch oils and salves to calm, cool, and soothe your body, leaving you pain-free. I put on a salve. I used the oils. I was able to walk for hours. I believe in this product 100%. Use promo code GWI podcast for 15% off. Use promo code GWI podcast for 15% off. Click the link below. Thank you. Welcome to Go For Side Effects. I want to welcome a lot of guests. I'm your host, Kevin Simon. I got my co-host, John. I got
everyone.
And I got my panel, my crew, Sarah and Wade. How are y'all doing? So tonight we're going to do something a little bit different, but it ties into the Go For. Y'all going to have to bear with me, and y'all will all understand as this unfolds. So we have Tara. Say hi, Tara, to everybody.
Hello, everybody.
And we got Jill. How are y'all doing?
Good.
Okay, so this is what we're going to do first. This is about Camp Lejeune and all the toxins and everything that goes back before the Go For. But it ties into the Go For, everybody. I will tell y'all why after a while. So, Tara, I would like for you to start off about what your experiences was with it and what you're going through and everything you know. And then I'm also going to have Jill come in, okay?
First, I want to thank you for getting a hold of me. I'm still not sure how we connected. I think you and Jill had something to do with that. Let's see. This whole thing started with me 8 years ago. My husband took ill. He was a Marine in the early 70s. He got diagnosed with stage 4 esophageal cancer. We went to the VA to sign him up for medical care. It was there at the VA hospital in North Florida, because we live in Florida, obviously, that told us about Lejeune, something we didn't even know. And we're talking about 40 years ago at the time. Camp Lejeune, we found out later, or I did, is the largest mass contamination in U.S. history to date. And even though I have done a lot of programs, I've been on a lot of news media, I still find somebody that still does not know about Lejeune. This goes for the military, because not just Marines, we have Air Force, we had Navy. It depends on what you were taking, if you went there for instruction or what have you. The families that lived on that base. I have recently hooked up with an Army veteran. It was at Fort McClellan. So the last few months, I've been broadening my horizon. But for 8 years, I am, when it comes to Lejeune, Jill, I met her. She lives in Ohio. I met her 4 years ago, Jill, 3, something like that. She lives, Jill lives in the town I was born in Ohio. I'm 66 years old, but I've lived in Florida 60 years. And Jill went to high school with most of my relatives. Her dad died of complications from being stationed at Lejeune. Jill, you have to fill that in later, what years he was there. My husband was there in the early 70s. I'm going to fast forward because I could make a whole day of this. My husband applied for benefits by suggestion from the VA Medical Center that day. He was diagnosed terminal. We went down there, he did so. 10 weeks later, he lost his life. After I started getting wires uncrossed after his death, I started looking into Lejeune. And if we didn't know about it, how many more people are out there? In 8 years, I have found a lot. And then I developed a Facebook group, Camp Lejeune Victims, The Faces. People have been coming out of the woodwork. Well, after fighting the VA, I finally got my husband's death service connected to when he was stationed at Lejeune between 1970 and 1974. Therefore, as her surviving spouse, and at my age, of course, I'm retired, I still say my husband still takes care of me because I was awarded DIC, and then I, of course, got medical. But the fight still goes on. Somebody asked me a couple of years ago, why do I still do it? My award was finally deemed approved in 2017. Somebody asked me why I still do it. My husband was one man. There's over 1 million affected between family, civilian, military, and like I said, I don't mean just Marines, military and the families, not to mention the women that were pregnant. I can tell you some horror stories. And I have, like I told this person, I won that battle, and the veterans that are here tonight, I still haven't won the war. He was only one man, so I'm still at it. When Jill lost her father, and like she'll go into that when she speaks, we hooked up together. She administrates the Facebook victims page that I have. And if Jill and I don't know the answer when it comes to Lejeune, and she once was a student. Now my student has become the teacher. She's took it upon herself to dig and research. And we even discovered, like I was saying earlier, it wasn't just Marines. And the contamination was a cover-up for over 4 decades, which started in 1953. We'll talk about this later, but the one thing I want to say, they're saying between 1953 and 1987. I know the Gulf War was, 1989 to 93. Some people, if you have any Gulf War veterans on here, no matter the branch, if they were at Lejeune 30 days or longer, don't have to be consecutive. It can be 2 weeks there, 1 week there, 30 days. Even though they're saying 1953 to 1987, I want anybody that's listening to know, oh, well, hell, I'm out of luck because I was in the Gulf War in 1991, and I was exposed to this. You're not out of luck. My husband's cancer was not on their presumptive list. I prevailed. I had to go before the Boards of Veterans Appeals in Washington, D.C., but I won. And I'm here to stay. It's not impossible. You can win. You just got to have determination and perseverance. And with the love of my life, I'm still fighting. Amen. And that's what Jill and I are all about.
Amen. Now, a lot of people that are going to be listening to this, I want y'all to understand, this does tie in. On episode 22, I had Greg Wilson on. I called him the other day, me and him talked, and he was telling me he literally has filed under the Camp Lejeune for his cancer. So if all y'all remember the hell that he went through with the VA, it was terrible. So it isn't just falling all the way back decades ago. It's still present. I mean, there's no way that they can clean up the contaminant. Now, I don't know right now if Wade or John or Sarah, y'all have any questions so far? Or y'all have anything? Go ahead, John.
Tara, I do have a question. I've done a little bit of reading on it. Can you give a real quick explanation of what caused the contamination?
Mainly, they're blaming it on this big dry cleaners that was next to the base, emptying all their solvents, etc. Trichloroethylene, perchloroethylene, vinyl chloride, benzene. Oh God, I can go on. And if you think about it, EPA, I don't remember what year, I did know what year, but the EPA didn't exist way back in the 50s and 60s. And a lot of bases, not just Lejeune, military bases in general, diesel fuel, and Camp Lejeune also had leaky diesel fuel tanks. To this day, they still have vapor intrusion coming up through the floorboards of some of the old barracks, the fumes still coming up. Yes, they've shut the wells, some of the wells down, but I agree with you. The contamination is still there, but it started off with the dry cleaning. And then of course the stuff that the military dumped in the ground.
And
So,
that's where go ahead, John. And I know Jill has done a lot of homework because me her talked, and her story's going to be pretty dang fascinating coming up. But what else you have, John?
well, no, I mean, I read about the dry cleaners and the sludge and the amount, which was, if I remember by reading, it was the equivalent of 2 to 3 55 gallons of drum of this sludge from the dry cleaners that they would go through or get acquire over that time, and trying to figure out what to do with it. And I read that they filled some potholes that were on the ground, and I'm like, how do you fill a pothole with sludge? And then I thought, well, then you pour this stuff down the drain. I don't know what a dry cleaner would do. I don't know what is supposed to have been done with that type of thing. But I mean, to get to the meat and potatoes of stuff, that clearly goes down into your drinking water. And did it have to be? I'm guessing the answer is no, but would you have to have consumed it or merely bathed in this to get contaminated?
John, they did it all. They swam in it. Their food was cooked with it. They drank it. They swam. I mean, you figure when you do your, oh God, come on.
I didn't think about cooking with it, but yeah, wow.
Yeah,
okay.
cooking with it. When you went on your runs, I mean, what are you going to do when you're done running?
Yeah,
You're
well,
going to drink water.
You're going to be thirsty, right?
Yes. And the pool that they have you in, same water. And like I said, the food, everything. You lived and drank. My husband, I'm doing pretty good. He's been gone 8 years, but I get emotional sometimes. I don't mean to. I usually get a good grip. But when I think about those years and how it was kept hid, I mean, it was hid. It was undercover. It was a cover up, and one big cover up that they let our military, and like I said, I don't care what branch of service, because we have a lot of bases that have issues like this, that they let our military, I mean, my husband didn't have to go to Vietnam to get a bullet in the back. He just had to stay stateside in his own country to die. So I have a lot of animosity when it comes to the VA and the government when we have our military men and women fighting for this country and we cover up things that can kill them. I'm just going to babble now because I get angry when I think about it. I get very angry and I get very defensive because what they do is wrong. But our justice system isn't exactly perfect at all. And the VA, to me, is the most unorganized organization God ever put breath in.
I agree with that. And I think Sarah, I mean, I saw Sarah when you were talking about that. She's like, yeah. And Sarah, do you have any comments right now?
I just want to say thank you, Tara, and Jill, for all your hard work and holding the government accountable. That's the only way that we're going to get answers. That's the only way we're going to get any change in the system. That was the only way we were able to get the EPA started, was because it was from individuals like yourself standing up and saying, hey, this ain't right. We need to do something about this. And so my question to you, Tara, is how did you get service connection for your husband's issues if they weren't CFR coded? I mean, that's usually the main way that you get service connection is through that CFR code. So did they add that cancer to the Camp Lejeune? Was there anything at all already set up? Or was that all as a result of what you've achieved from your husband's case?
How do I put this? When my husband Carl passed, I'm nobody of importance.
Oh, but you are, hon.
Yes.
You are, girl.
Well, thank
the
you.
universe knew it. And that's
Well,
why
the only
you put
thing,
there.
the only thing tougher than a Marine is a Marine's wife.
Oh,
Hell yeah.
Oh God, I just lost my whole train of thought. Oh,
Sorry.
after Carl died, I got to thinking to myself, I've got to bring awareness to this crap. Because like I said earlier, if we didn't know, how many more other people out there that don't know? Now, like I said, I was nobody important. My daddy's not the governor. My brother's not a congressman. I'm just a hardworking woman and mother of 3 and a grandmother of 7 and, you know, a widow. One thing I learned, Sarah, is the VA does not like negative media. I went out of my way. And what do you call it, Jill? I made an exhibitionist of myself. I have been on the news a lot, and I have been all over the United States. The last one I did was 2 summers ago. I went out west and protested in front of 10 VA regional offices, holding a sign that said Camp Lejeune Widow.
Good for you.
Handed out flyers and all that. But I raised so much cane, I don't really want to put her out there. But an individual that works for the central office in DC, for the VA, I like her. We become friends, and we don't speak as much anymore. But she was kind of like the go-between between the VA and the media. And every time I was on the news, she would be the one that had to litigate between the VA and the news, the media. Well, when I went out west 2 summers ago, I had gotten a text on my phone. I don't know where I was, Oklahoma or something. And I looked at the text, and this woman, she texts me on a weekend. She says, "You are making me earn my money. What are you doing?" Someone was going to see me, and more importantly, somebody was going to hear me. And when I found out that my case was not going to be heard before the Board of Veterans Appeals for 5 years, this was back when I was, this was 5 years ago. I called, he's not a reporter anymore, he's retired, WFLA Channel 8 in Florida, in Tampa. I call him my favorite reporter because I think the media has been my best friend. And I think the media can be any military veteran's best friend. If it wasn't for them, they wouldn't be getting the word out. If they put it in the paper, put it on the news, someone's going to pick up a cup of coffee one night, sit down, watch the news, and they're going to see something they didn't know that was a veteran. But that's how I started. And just, pardon the expression, raising hell.
Good.
And I just held up a sign.
Amen. That's what I'm talking about.
I like
But
it.
that's what I did.
I'm guessing you didn't have permission to stand on the doorsteps of the regional office.
Well, see, I did my homework, Miss Sarah.
Okay.
Freedom of speech is a wonderful amendment, isn't it? I made sure I wasn't on government property.
Gotcha.
So I didn't need a permit. I made sure I was on public property.
There you go.
Of all the regional offices I've been in, I've only had 2 VA, I call them rent-a-cops, but the VA police, they were nice. I did one in St. Louis Regional Office, Missouri, 2 years ago. And the VA cop was an Army veteran. And he says, "I'm glad somebody is standing up for our veterans." Didn't matter we were talking about the Marines at that time. We were out there doing it. If that makes sense.
Hell
And
yeah.
But no, in fact, when I was gone this past weekend, visiting my niece that lives in Jacksonville, Florida, she's retired from the Navy now. I said, my ID's expired, I need to get it renewed. And I went to the Navy base and they said, you never have to renew it again. So I have my permanent military ID now.
All right.
But no,
Nice.
I had to go all the way to the Board of Veterans Appeals, Sarah, to answer your question. And the judge overturned the denial the VA gave me.
And I also think this is an important thing because I'm soon going to ask Wade if he has any questions. But were you all by yourself? That's what I want to know, protesting.
Hey, Jill.
And Jill. And that's
No,
it.
no, not Jill. I didn't meet her till
Okay.
just 3-4 years ago.
How many?
Yes.
Okay. And see, and that, but to me, that's a problem. I'm glad that you were able to get it done. But that's
Thank
what
you.
most people need to do. Even the Gulf War vets, we need to unite. It doesn't
Yes.
matter if, I mean, the people who got the vaccines, the injuries, along with the people who went to Desert Storm, veterans need to come together and we need to unite as one, because all the bickering and fighting of everybody who wants to be in charge, I don't care who's in charge. I want to be fixed, because Desert Storm veterans are dying faster than any other veterans, and that's a shame. Wade, you patiently just over there, just chilling out. Do you have any questions before I bring Jill on?
No, I was just going to say that Tara, she's doing the right thing. She's being proactive. She's going out. She's going after it. And you're right. That's pretty much what the Gulf War veterans were lacking, is we're not organizing. We're not getting into groups. We're not going out. Just my personal experience. Again, I've said it before that I feel that a lot of Gulf War veterans, they sit back and they wait. They're waiting to be basically spoon fed. You've got to be proactive. Back in 94, 95, I wasn't versed on the internet, which was very limited back then anyway. Today, you can find any information you want. I ran into a fellow Gulf War veteran this week, and he had no idea about how to go about applying for benefits. In this day and age, that's the wrong answer. But he also wanted someone to grab his hand and walk him through the process. If you're not,
There's some people that want me to approve their claim. Trust me, I know.
Yes, you've got to be proactive. You've got to look out for yourself, because nobody else is going to look out for you. And nobody's going to come search you down and knock on your door and say, oh, you're this veteran, you're that veteran, you're entitled to this. You've got to go after it.
Now, I don't beat the pavement anymore, Wade. I quit doing that over 2 years ago. But there are other people, and Jill did her first one a year ago this month, didn't you, Jill?
Yes.
Some other people finally joined in and took the reins. I'm still on my phone 8 days a week, but like I said, I'm 66 and I'm getting tired. And people have started doing what I've been doing. I wish they would have been out there when I was out there, but people are out there. And one thing I want to ask, if Jill don't get into it, Kevin, is do all of you or any of you know about the PACT Act?
Yes.
Yeah.
We
Yes.
all do.
Okay. You know it passed the House of Representatives.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
You know it's due to be voted on by the Senate soon.
Yes.
They're hoping Memorial Day weekend. What a nice weekend to do it. The Camp Lejeune Justice Act is within the PACT Act. And if y'all haven't printed it out or read it, I can send any of you the link, because I went down to Office Max, sent them the link because it was 80 pages. And you can print up the PACT Act. But that PACT Act, like I said, this isn't just about Marines, for military toxic exposure. I'm not sure about, I could only talk about Lejeune because that's where the majority of my knowledge is. But if this bill passes, like we're believing it will, and after Biden signs it, you have 2 years to file a claim, and then you're SOL. The other, like I said, because I'm Camp Lejeune oriented, when this bill, got brought up, I know you only have a 2-year time limit before their so-called statute of limitations is up. But that PACT Act is important, and I don't know if it fits with any of you all on here.
Oh,
I hope it does.
It's all of us. It serves
Yes.
the Gulf War all the way Camp Lejeune, and there's no pork in this thing. That's what it is a big bill.
Yes.
But it is a bill that's going to take care of the veterans, all
Yes.
the veterans. And on top of that, the only problem I have with the 2 years is this. The only problem I have, everybody, is you may not show symptoms of like a certain cancer for after 2 more years, So, I mean, I'll sure they'll extend it. But right now, I want to bring Jill on, because Jill is the one that me and her got in contact with each other, and she introduced me to Tara. Jill, you've been waiting patiently. Thank you.
You
and
gotta love her. You
yes,
gotta love her. She has been my right hand, let me
and-
tell you.
right. If she has a little bit more information, it ain't just about the cleaners. There's other stuff that I would like her first talk about what you went through, everything you experienced, and then let's get into the ball of things.
Well, my dad served in the Marine Corps from 1952 to 1955. And he got out when he was about 45 years old. He started having heart trouble. He was the youngest of 9 kids. That didn't run in the family. Then he was diagnosed a few years later with prostate cancer. And then comes bladder cancer, renal toxicity, and I could go on and on.
Wow.
Abdominal aneurysm. And he just kept saying, you know, where's this coming from? You know, I'm the youngest of 9. There's no family history of this. You know, I can't figure out what's causing this. And finally in 2017, a guy that had worked for my dad, who had also been a Marine, I ran into him and he said, how's your dad doing? And I said, well, his bladder cancer's, you know, kicking back up again. And he's having a lot of issues. And he said, well, he does know about Camp Lejeune, doesn't he? And I said, what do you mean? And he started telling me, and he said, go home and look it up on the internet. It's there. And so I went home, started reading a lot about it. And I thought, when I seen bladder cancer was one of their presumptive conditions, because there's only 8 presumptive conditions for Camp Lejeune. Now, like Tara's husband, he fell under 15 illnesses that would qualify for medical only, the esophageal cancer. And I thought bladder cancer's on there. And I started reading people having the heart issues, the prostate cancer and everything else. And their teeth were falling and crumbling out, just like dad's would break off. He'd go to a dentist, they'd try a sealant, it wouldn't stick. The dentist finally tried numerous sealants and dad's teeth wouldn't stick. And it's like, this is not making sense. And so finally it all made sense. And, you know, I had to tell him, I said, I know why you've been sick for so long and all these issues. And when I told him, I'll never forget the look on his face. He was in shock. He was pissed off that he was betrayed. They had all these years to notify him. He lived in the same home for over 30-something years. He never got a letter from the Navy, the Department of Defense, the Marine Corps. You know, and yes, he had private insurance from where he worked, but he had been footing this bill since he was 45 years old. The number of surgeries and radiation treatments and chemo treatments, PET scans, CAT scans, I couldn't even begin to add it all up. And they knew where he was all along. They could have notified him, but they didn't. And they encouraged him to file a claim. This Marine that told us, and so I went in and helped him do it. And they said he would be, the VA said he would be considered a catastrophic disability because by this time the bladder cancer had metastasized to his bones, the pelvic region, and was spreading rapidly, and that they would rush through his claim. Well, my father passed 7 months later while his claim was still pending. And I didn't hear anything from the VA after I sent in the death certificates. And I finally called and checked on it. And they said, well, we have the option of leaving a claim open for family members to continue with or closing it. And we chose to close it. And I had some contact information from the central office in DC. And I reached out and said, am I allowed to reopen it? And they said, well, let us look into your dad's claim. And they finally got back to me and said, yes, you can reopen it and, you know, fill out this form, substitution of claimant. My mom had passed suddenly 3 months prior to my dad. So I had to do a substitution of claimant, do a deceased beneficiary. Got all that. They rated my dad's bladder cancer 100% service connected, and bladder cancer that had metastasized 100% service connected. They sent me a burial allowance and his accrued benefits in the tune of, it was over $33,000. And probably 2 months later, I get a letter. They had made an erroneous mistake and shouldn't have paid me and wanted all the money back. And the reason they wanted the burial allowance back was I was forthcoming and told them my dad had done a prepaid funeral plan years ago when he found out he had cancer. Well, they automatically assumed that it was some government insurance policy, which it wasn't at all. It was money my dad paid. And they don't like double dipping. And as far as the accrued benefits, they said, basically, the Camp Lejeune Family Care Act and the laws written were designed for the VA to interpret them as they seem fit. And their line of succession was, the money should have went to my mother, but since she had passed, then it goes to dependent children. My dad had no dependent children. They were all adults. And then it would have went to his parents who were deceased. So they chose to go that route, and I had to pay all the money back.
That's ridiculous.
They were generous and did let us keep the $2,000 burial allowance.
Oh,
though.
aren't they sweet? That's a
Yeah.
bunch of bull crap. They should have went all the way back from the day that he had his first cancer.
Right.
See, that's what I don't like about the VA. That's what pisses me off. See, and that has nothing to do with the hospitals. These are people that want the money back that aren't doctors. They're
Exactly.
administrators. Yeah, and that's the problem. But see, on there, it wasn't just about the drinking water. It was also about radiation. That was found out there too.
The government would like you to believe that the dry cleaners caused all the problems. And my personal opinion, the research I've done, the dry cleaners was just a very small issue. They had numerous toxic dump sites on that base. As Tara had said before, there was fuel oil tanks, all kinds of diesel fuel, you name it, leaking. There was radioactive dogs put in thin plastic buried below the surface in dirt. There were so many things wrong on that base. It's sickening.
Hey,
And
Kevin.
my heart breaks because there's no way you're ever going to clean that up. I have people reaching out to me that served as late as the 2000s, telling me what they witnessed go on that base. You know, I don't have the documentation on it, but if you ask me if I'm going to believe Marines telling me what they witnessed, and I'm going to believe the DOD saying that never happened, I'm going to believe the Marines or any other service member over the government any day.
Amen.
Because they lied about this, tried to cover it up. The numbers were even fudged on the water studies and the water testing results.
A lot more than fudged from what I read.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can call it whatever you want. I was being generous. But yeah, there was some other choice words I would have liked to use. But it's a toxic nightmare or disaster, whatever you want to use. And I don't know why the base isn't closed, because we're sending people there for training all the time.
I was going to
And then
ask what's the state as of Camp Lejeune today,
It's
as far
open.
as that? No, I understand it's open, but I mean, has anything? What's been corrected? Has things
Well,
been
they were-
adjusted?
They were supposed to clean it up and fix it. And then some breaking news stories happened a couple years ago that they ran out of money, or it was
Ran out of money.
mismanaged,
That's funny.
or mismanaged and went somewhere else. So this past January, they were supposed to start restoration and cleaning up again. I have not got confirmation that anything is currently going on. Whether they have started the restoration or cleaning up, I don't know. I know they're currently doing, like, as Tara mentioned, vapor intrusion studies on the buildings. In my honest opinion, there is just too many that reach out in the 90s and 2000s that are telling me, why did this stop in 1987? I've got cancer. I've got leukemia. I lost every single baby I was pregnant with while I was on base. And this is well after 1987. You know, so it's never going to be cleaned up. You know, and it's considered the largest amphibious base for training, and that's why so many different branches go there. And it's like Tara said, the Army there, you know, the Guard there, anybody was there, the Navy. And these people don't even know they were poisoned. And the government estimates 1 million were poisoned. And to me, that just really angers me, because I know all these other people that are contacting me that are sick, you know, and 1 million is a very low estimate. When you consider all the branches that were there, the civilian employees, the ones that brought their spouses, their children, and deep in my gut, in my head, I know there is something much bigger there that we haven't found out. I had spoke to one of the CAP members, which was a community assistance panel that they designed to have meetings on Camp Lejeune. The CDC was usually there, a representative from the Marine Corps, the Navy, Agency on Toxic Substance Disease Registry, and that. And they're still waiting on like 30,000 documents that they won't release, that they consider classified. Now, if you poisoned all these people and you want a wrong way to go, you're going to continue to hide this. If you want to write it and help all these people, you would release them documents. I don't know why hold them. Help these people. They could be getting early screenings.
Well,
you know,
I know you and I think we already know the answer to that. They hold it because it's all, unfortunately, it boils down to money. I mean, I think that's, in our government, things tend to boil down to money. It depends on what's important to them at the time, you know, because there is no such thing as a budget when it comes to, I don't know, special forces, or like we're sending a whole lot of money over the Ukraine, and you can say you are the point, well, that's national security, blah, blah, blah. It boils down to money. That's what it boils down to, and accountability. And that means the politicians would have to say, hey, we got a problem. But a politician wants to retain their title. They're not going to raise any cane, and then unless people like us bring it to their attention. That's the only way it's going to get noticed and rectified. And I don't think there's anybody here that would argue that point, you know, about, you know, you got to raise some hell. You got to throw something against the wall and make it stick. If it don't stick, it's like it doesn't exist.
Hey, Jill, while you're,
Yes.
excuse me, John. While you're talking, I don't want to get in, but you and I think a lot alike. Jill and I talk a lot and extensively on the phone. Even though we know the contamination at Lejeune, a Marine base, that they're only recognizing between 1953 and 1953 to 1987. And I know the Gulf War veterans, I know that lasted through 93, 94. I know what my opinion is, and so does Jill, but since Jill's got the floor, explain to them what, I don't have it in writing, so I'm going to call it hearsay. Give them your opinion on the Marines now that are, and other Marine or other military that are on that base today, and even through the 90s. For instance, what I wanted you to say was like, remember how we've been told that anybody that goes on that base for any period of time, and I can't get my hands on it, and maybe I shouldn't say this in the world wide world web, but there's supposed to be some sort of document, this is hearsay, that these military people that are going on that base for training, what have you, today it's happening. But nobody can put one in my hand yet. There is some kind of a form that they're signing on a computer or on an
Yeah,
iPad or whatever. Huh?
Yeah, electronic form. And they were
Electronic
not
form. Electronic form to tell them that they have been informed about the water.
It's
Now,
probably in really tiny writing, like at the bottom of a commercial about drugs. It's about the size of a pinhead.
Now,
but you
who do
gotta,
you
like,
think's, who is doing the CYA now? You know, covering their, who's
cover their
doing that?
ass?
Well,
Yeah.
you know,
But-
on top of everything, these politicians make the rules. I don't care what side of the fence you're on. They don't give two flying flips. They get up there, they got that American flag sitting behind them. They have all the pins sitting on their chest. They get up there, rah, rah, rah. I could probably count maybe 5 people who really give a flying flip about us. I mean, really, truly, 5 that give a shit about us, to be honest with you, about all veterans. And that's a problem. That's why we're voting in these morons that don't have a damn clue what they're doing up there. See, now I'm pissed. And rightfully so. I think we all should be pissed off about this. And I tell you what, my politicians that are around here, they hear my voice. They don't give a crap. But I tell you what, come election time, Kevin Simon's going to be standing his ass up there going, hey, guess what this politician did? Guess what he didn't do? That's the stuff that needs to happen. That's why the veterans, all veterans, we need to form together. Go for vets. There's more of us than them. I'm not saying we need to, go attack anybody or anything, but we need to unite. And I mean, are the younger generations are going to get screwed? I mean, Sarah, look at you. How much crap have you gone through of the stuff that they're like, well, no. Right?
Gaslight and deny. That's the VA way.
And it burns my ass. It burns.
Kevin.
Yeah. Good.
don't
I was
wanna
getting on a
forget.
tangent. I was about to rock and roll.
I
Your
want to
hair was
share.
coming out of place.
I want to share this before you lose all your hair.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right.
I want to share this. Forget anybody's, it doesn't matter what branch of service you're in. This is something I want to share because any military veteran, I think this would be helpful. I had it printed up at Office Depot because it's over 200 pages. Can you guys read the date on this?
2017.
January 20th, 2017.
ATSDR PHA, which means Public Health Assessment. Anything and everything. You can see my tabs. I've got people's names written beside them. Anything and everything you want to know about chemicals and what it causes. Most of my evidence, to answer some of your questions, Sarah, when I got my husband's death service connected, was the VA's evidence. I used a lot that's in this notebook, but it's January 20th. There's one out there for January 13th, not that one. January 20th. That was the same day that we were doing, they had CAP meetings, as Jill was saying, which the CAP no longer exists, but we were having one in Jacksonville, North Carolina, where Lejeune is located. Right before the CAP meeting started that day, ATSDR, the Agency for Substance, help me out, Toxic Registry. Thank you. They released this report. And I think it was like 20 pages in when I saw the main chemical for my husband's cancer, esophageal cancer. Everything and anything. You can Google it. You can click on the link and it has a PDF form and you can download it, send it to your closest office supply store and let them print it up. And for 20 bucks, you can get all 200 pages printed up and put it in a notebook and take it home and read it. Because anything that you would want to know about chemicals, like I said, a veteran's a veteran, no matter what branch of the service they're in. Toxic is toxic.
So
Toxic
that-
doesn't look at what branch of the service you're in.
So what you just held up, I worked quite a while in the industrial part of our world. What you held up is the VA's form of an MSDS. Is that what you basically have?
ATSDR is the scientist that was hired by the Department of the Navy. And if I'm missing something, Jill, break in, to do the studies on the water at Lejeune. ATSDR, I think they're biased, even though they would have you believe differently. I think they're for the VA, even though they think differently.
Depends
But,
on who's writing them the check, right?
But let me tell you something. Half of my evidence came from this notebook.
Right, right.
Telling you.
I mean, you go in and you literally, you go to va.gov and you type in anything about the Gulf War, it's right there.
But you gotta remember something, Kevin. You find anything online, military archives, what have you, you're gonna think I'm crazy, but I know from experience, Jill, you can add to this one. Things have a way of disappearing.
Yes.
Because when this all started years ago with Jerry Ensminger, he's retired master sergeant from Lejeune after the death of his daughter. When this all started, Jerry was able to get into some files. Well, after Jerry got a hold of him and certain people found out that he had documents like water studies, etc., guess what just happened to disappear? Just like when you people go to the VA for your CMPs or whatever, do yourself a favor. If they don't give them to you that day, say, can I come back tomorrow? Get a copy of the doctor's notes from that day, because records disappear conveniently. I'm telling
And
you.
they get changed.
Huh?
And they get changed. If you look at your notes versus what went down in that appointment, is totally different most of the time. Even if they print out a report of your summary, what went down, what your doctor suggested for your therapy, what your doctor suggested for your diagnoses, that summary is going to be different than the notes. Just about every time.
Let me tell you what my great doctor did. He's going to get his now degree in nurse practitioner of neurological bull crap, but he literally put in his notes that mine was psycho something. I don't know what the name of it is.
Psychosomatic.
So, thank you. That's what he put in mind my tremors were. And I'm like, well, what the hell does that mean? So
You know what I mean.
yeah. And he kept telling me, well, it's caused by PTSD. I don't have PTSD. He's like, well, psychosomatics on this, and this. But so I'm sitting there thinking to myself, what that does is if I send it in for a higher rating, the first thing you're going to look at is that damn document and say, guess what, guys? He's making it up. Psychosomatics. It's all in my head. Well, I tell you what, I wish that son of a bitch would have my feet every time I walk out the door. See, I'm fired up. I'm telling you, I'm so mad right now. This is what needs to be done. Everybody needs to get off.
I've got PTSD from dealing with the VA.
Boy, I tell you what, amen.
Thank
I
you.
put on a uniform.
Thank you.
And you know, I have a French guy that send me a message. He wants to come on the show, but he's sent me a message and everything. He was just like, why isn't a black Suburban with a gun sticking out not following you? I looked at him, I said, what does it matter? They signed my death warrant. I'm like, man, they already signed my death warrant. But I know, Wade, you got anything you want to add into this?
Yeah, just some notes I took earlier today when I was doing a little reading. So we have Camp Lejeune. We know it's contaminated water. At this point, that's what we know. Vietnam veterans, Agent Orange. For Gulf War veterans, now it is the sarin exposure. When you hear that, or when a veteran hears that, because they know they're sick. It's been 30 plus years. We know we're sick. So when we hear that, to me, it's more of a validation. Like, hey, I know I'm sick. Now somebody has said it's because of this. The problem is with the Gulf War veterans, that doesn't fit the entire class. Agent Orange, there's other stuff that went on in Vietnam as to why veterans are sick.
Yep.
But Agent Orange was a nice blanket. For us, the sarin is a nice blanket, except for all the veterans who received the vaccinations or other veterans who weren't even exposed that had the vaccinations and had other chemical exposures that are still suffering. I mean, I don't know where you were at, Kevin, as far as the Navy, but a buddy of mine, he had no idea, no clue that about Gulf War illness, Gulf War this, Gulf War that. And he was on a ship, sorry. And they, but in the last 5 years, I've seen his physical ability just, go horrible, just absolutely horrible. Now, was he exposed to the sarin cloud that they're talking about? Or was he actually exposed to a chemical like at Camp Lejeune that I was reading of, that I couldn't even pronounce the names of the chemicals, but which was a cleaning agent that I did research on, a cleaning agent that they used on the ships back then. So he didn't know anything about it. And that's the other problem, is we are running into veterans today, Gulf War veterans, that they're like, they're not doing good, but they have no idea about Gulf War illness. And that's where we are. That's what you're trying to do. And that's what we're trying to do, is be proactive, reach out. And it's got to be a reach out.
See, Wade, what it sounds like with Gulf War, what little bit I've read, what it would sound like from what I'm reading and what I see and what you're saying, like the exposure at Lejeune, there's a latency period, 30, 40 years between the exposure and the symptoms. There might be, there's a latency period of almost 3 or 4 decades. And it seems to be the same thing with Gulf War, etc. Exactly. It sounds like a latency period right along with what's going on everywhere else.
My only question is with the whole back in, John, you might be able to help me out this. We received letters from the DOD. I want to say it was either 96 or 98 that says there was a chance that you were exposed to sarin and cyclosarin while in the Gulf. I mean, they went on to say it has no long-term detrimental effects. You'll be fine. All of a sudden, 30 years fast forward, after how many millions of dollars in research did we do? And I totally respect Dr. Haley from Texas. Great research. But I've also talked to another researcher, Dr. Garth Nicholson, who was literally a pioneer for Gulf War illness research. And I have to agree with him that you can't use sarin exposure as a blanket for all the illnesses that the different veterans are suffering from. You just, yeah. I don't believe it.
I think that's a fair statement. And this last week was not a good week for me. I was really struggling with energy, and my wife started reading some information, trying to educate herself more so on my issues, and she started reading about the PB tabs. And because like you said, Wade, the sarin, kind of like Tara suggested, Lejeune would want to say that, okay, we're going to blame it all on the dry cleaners. Whereas, okay, we have a study out now, we want to blame all the Gulf War issues on sarin, because that seems to be a good blanket. Let's not shine light on the PB tabs, et cetera, et cetera. And my wife was rattling off stuff that I hadn't heard about the PB tabs.
Right.
And it's like, wow. It's like, damn. I mean, the most of us on here all got a short-term memory. I mean, we can't. You're like, what? And then drop our thoughts.
I have a list that I have to list for tomorrow, what I'm going to do.
Yeah,
But John, can I pick on you for a minute?
absolutely.
Okay, and I'm only using this just for our
Heck
people
yeah,
watching.
bring it on to John.
Okay, so I participated in the study for NTF factor. You know that I got awesome results out of it.
Yes.
I
Yep.
passed it on to you.
Yep.
I think Dr. Nicholson even commented on the comment of your comment. Now, have you ordered NTF factor yet?
Negative.
Okay.
Because honestly, because I tend to forget.
Now, I've moved on, and something I've talked to Dr. Nicholson, I moved on to another supplement that I have been trying since the 1st of May. I'm doing a personal 60-day study with it. I was trying to get down to Ross Camp. They didn't have an opening this weekend to get me in. So I've been doing this since May 1st of another supplement that was listed for Dr. Nicholson. Hopefully, when we do this again next month, I will be able to give my personal results, not, that's just one person doing something.
Mhm.
But what I've always said is, since we've been doing this, is, you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to try something. You've got to move on. Myself, I've said this before, I'm doing this for my daughter. I'm doing it for the kids of Gulf War veterans. I think kids, it's been passed on to them. My daughter's a perfect example, but I am just doing this for them, not for me. I've lived a good life. I'm good. I'm happy. But what I've done, and the advice that I've followed from other people, is I'm back in the world again. I'm up, I'm working, I'm living. I have anxieties. Even getting on an airplane to go down to Ross Camp, which is in Florida, down in Sarasota. Tara probably gorgeous area.
About an hour away.
Anxieties. I get anxieties about going alone. I get anxieties about traveling. But I'm just saying, you've got to take that first step. That's what I always try to tell veterans. Take that first step, and to better yourself. You just got to better yourself.
Do any of y'all have any kind of a social media group going on?
There's a lot of social media, but it's a lot of negative as far as I'm concerned. And yeah, that's why I like Kevin. Kevin was like, my personal is better, not bitter. And that was given to me from a friend. Yes, I was bitter. I was very bitter. Now, a lot of Gulf War veterans, a lot of veterans are bitter. But you've got to take that first step to make yourself better.
But
You know what you should do, Wade? Do what I did. When my husband died, I can't even tell you the anger. I'm Italian and bullheaded. The anger inside of me was, I'd made a good Marine. What I'm getting at is I took that anger and I took it out on the VA, because I think I would have, I was bad. I didn't take his death well. And then to add insult to injury with the VA's BS, and to me, they defied me in so many ways. When people can just stand right in front of your face and tell you something that you know is not the truth, just going out there and being proactive, like Wade's saying, that's where I think that's how I got better.
No, you got proactive. We are not proactive. And
Got to be.
I can't, as far as medical care, I cannot, and John can probably attest this as well, because I'm in Iowa as well as with John. But the VA care in Iowa, it is the only reason that I am still here, honestly.
I know they're good. I got to give kudos to kudos. They're good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Really, you're lucky.
I have prostate cancer. Is that caused by something in the Gulf? Who knows? It's called Barrett syndrome, but it's the first stage in esophageal cancer.
All about it.
Is an IBS. I brought this on. This is an injection that I carry around with me, Imitrex, Sumatropin, for cluster headaches. I have to take that everywhere I go. I take pee pills. I mean, I have learned to adjust and adapt, but the VA care I get here is great. So, I mean, you can either feel sorry for yourself or you can move on. I guess that's my biggest message.
That's right.
I agree with
Get
that.
out of bed. I got a job. I lost my business 2 years ago. I was afforded a job. I have a reason to get out of bed every day, and that's what veterans got to do. They got to have a reason to get out of bed.
And like Sarah, I tell you what, I'm so impressed with her. I'll tell
She's
you
a damn
what,
trooper, man.
she is a trooper. She is. I mean, I
Thank
tell you what, most people with what you're going through would have given up.
Hell yeah.
It's true. I would have gave up. Her ass is out there stomping the ground, and she's making awareness. She posts all the time. Yeah,
You don't want to give up.
That's
That's
right.
what the VA wants you to do. They want you to give up.
That's right. And for Sarah, really and truly, I give kudos to her, probably more than anybody I know, and that's why I created this once a month group. I call it my panel, my Veterans Connecting. I got Operation Truth with Sarah. Wade to me is he's our researcher. He looks at a lot of stuff. He looks through stuff. He understands stuff about what research is going through. So it helps me out. John, me and him are a great fit. I created this podcast for veterans to come on and vent. They're pissed off. They need to talk. They want to tell their stories. I'm not in this for anything but to help. I'm in this to get answers. I'm in this to fight. And I've said it from the very beginning. I ain't giving up. I'm not. I'm not going to give up on anybody.
Can't.
And
The
Sarah,
best way for our veteran family to learn is from each other. The VA isn't going to give us the information that we need to succeed. Oh, they will only give us enough information to get us off their backs.
yes, yeah,
So,
yeah, that's a good way
In
to put
order
it.
for us to learn, we got to learn from each other. So what I learned this morning, when the Palo Alto RISC, the War-Related Injury and Illness Support Center, contacted me and said, we got another referral here. This is my third referral now since 2015. They asked me questions that I had already answered through the Go4 registry, but this screening was a screening for the next screening to determine if I was eligible and qualified for their program. And one of the questions that he was asking was, have you been given the PB pills? Where did you work before you were in the military? What jobs did you have in the service? And then with my fueling job, he got into even more specifics. What did you do as a fueler? Were you ever standing in fuel? And so there's many questions that the VA, and they know I didn't deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan, but the question he asked was, have you ever deployed to a wartime area? And I was like, what do you mean wartime? What's the VA asking there? Because I did go to Korea. I was in Area 1. And when that says, and I got hazardous duty pay, so does that then trigger to the Department of Defense? Okay, well, she needs X, Y, and Z vaccines. She needs to do X, Y, and Z. And so when they ask you, have you been deployed to a wartime zone? They aren't just saying Iraq or Afghanistan, or else they would say that. Did you deploy to Iraq or Afghanistan? Did you deploy to the Southwest Asia Theater of Operations? So they are asking you specific questions and waiting for you to ask more questions. Specifically, what do you mean by wartime area? Because what the Department of Defense does, and specifically for vaccinations, is in order for them to give you those vaccinations, they have to have permissions. Yeah, as we know, the Department of Defense doesn't always do what they're supposed to, but the FDA has regulated that the Department of Defense give the anthrax vaccine to not just those individuals going to Iraq or Afghanistan, and many other variables that are part of this toxic exposure of environmental exposures throughout our military career. So also, if you go to the VA's public health website, and I've stated this before, so that other veterans know, and the VA will fight you on this, but you specifically show it them on their VA public health website, it doesn't say and for the eligibility requirements. You didn't have to serve at the Southwest Asia Theater of Operation and serve during this certain amount of time. It says or. So that specific language tells us that you don't have to serve in Iraq or Afghanistan or in that surrounding area to be part or eligible for the Gulf War Registry, the War-Related Injury and Illness Support Center, or any of those other registries and benefits that we get through this Gulf War era, Gulf War illness, Gulf War syndrome, chronic multi-symptom illness, whatever new terminology the VA comes out with, that we do qualify. It just takes us a lot of work to tell them what their own policies are. And then on top of that, of this PACT Act, Tara, what specifically is for the Camp Lejeune? Does it give the VA funding to put out more information? Is it funding for research through the TURF, which is the Toxic Exposure Research Program that they're now putting together this year for CDMRP grants, which is like $30 million? Can we tap into some of that? Like, what does the PACT Act say for Camp Lejeune?
Okay, the PACT Act in general, I can't really go into as far as the knowledge, but I can tell you, because I know the man that wrote the bill. I've been knowing him for about 4 years now. Right now, as it stands, a veteran or a family member or dependent, nobody can sue the military or the government.
No.
Because of that statute of repose in North Carolina.
Yeah, that's crap.
Okay, cannot sue them. The Camp Lejeune Justice Act, it being passed, is going to open up some doors. Veterans that are suffering and dying right now, they have a 2-year limited statute of limitations, can file a civil personal injury suit against the military. Department of Justice is going to be their wallet. Surviving spouses, I'll be eligible to file suit for wrongful death.
Nice.
Good.
In my case won't be, in all cases, I'm not going to say they're all going to be slam dunk, but all the legwork that I did getting Carl's death service connected, you got to prove it's still a civil case. But I have 4 3-inch ring notebooks over there filled with nothing. And these 2 here, that public health assessment, and of course I got the PACT Act printed up. I've got more notebooks than the law allows. Every time I learn something new, just like a man by the name of Bill Bonk. I don't know if anybody belongs to his, he's got a Facebook social media page called The Glory Days of Fort McClellan. Bill got in touch with me because, John, you look so much like somebody I know. His name is Vince. And he was in the Army. He got this rally in 2016 at the Washington Monument in Washington, D.C. They called it Operation Stand Together. And this Army veteran got it together. And we had all the branches, even the reservists, even the Coast Guard, all showed up because it was Operation, like you were said, we got to do it together. It was Operation Stand Together. And that was when I had the honor, and I tell Jill about this because it tickles me. I brag about it because I felt honored. I got to sit and speak to Aaron Brockovich for about 40 minutes.
Oh,
I was just
cool.
gonna say, Aaron Brockovich.
That young lady is something. Let's just say Julia Roberts played her to a T. Let's say it that way.
Nice.
She's real. She's real. I like the hell out of her. But as far as the Camp Lejeune Justice Act goes, it's going to give Camp Lejeune victims a day in court.
And
That's what
Jill,
it's going to give us.
and Jill, you better be one of the first ones to file and get that money back. I'll
We've
be
already
standing
signed.
behind you. You damn
Yes.
right.
It looks like I'm gonna head that way because how else are you gonna get justice? And I heard you guys mention about your registry. Camp Lejeune victims we still don't have a health registry. That has been brought up over the years. You know, Gulf War, burn pits, Agent Orange. Everybody has a health registry. They won't give us one. Why? We don't know. You know, we even took up a petition and had well over 50,000 signatures, and we still don't have a health registry.
Huh.
And that's one of the reasons I believe there's still stuff that they haven't disclosed, some big secrets. And you talk about the illnesses and the connection between Gulf War and Camp Lejeune, not only the years, but when you start saying prostate cancer, that's recognized as an Agent Orange illness. Excuse me. Yet we have thousands of those who served at Camp Lejeune and was stationed there with their spouse that have prostate cancer. And my dad was one of them. Peripheral neuropathy, the esophageal cancer.
Sound familiar, Kevin?
There is too many symptoms, and yet they want to break it down. Oh, if you have this, it was Agent Orange illness, but yet you weren't exposed to Agent Orange.
Yes.
If you have this, that's a burn pit illness.
Yes.
Yet you weren't around burn pits.
Right.
There is a big connection there that I think most people tend to ignore. And to me, it stands out like a red flag. And yet you'll give some groups a health registry, and like us, isolate us. There is no health registry.
But Jill, if
And-
you look on page 69 in that PACT Act,
Which
the only thing
page?
it says about Fort McClellan is they're going to get a registry. But
Right.
yet the Camp Lejeune Justice Act is going to get their day in court. So this is like robbing Peter to pay Paul.
Yes.
I don't understand how they jump from one military branch to another, or one base from another for that fact, or whether it's over in the Gulf, in the Gulf War, or if it was in Vietnam. I don't understand. Why isn't there a registry for every branch of the service?
Why isn't there a registry? Ask Sarah. Why isn't there a registry for immunization damage?
Right?
Ooh, that's good.
What?
That's good.
Oh, I had a good one.
Damn right, you had a good one. Hey,
I haven't heard this.
Sir, we need to work on that.
That's what Operation Truth is working on. And once we do have our day in court or Congress, we're hoping to have that achieved. But with the current system is the VAERS reporting system, and it is so broken. Nobody goes by it. No doctors, no medical community, no one. CDC doesn't even go by it, and it's their baby. It is a difficult program to even get reports off. They even put an additional program, they being the CDC, called the Wonder program, where you're supposed to be able to pull off any report of any medical adverse reaction to any vaccination. And it is the most convoluted, most difficult program to pull off anything from. And so you pretty much had to have made the reporting program to be able to use it. So yes, we will be making a registry for these adverse effects from vaccinations. And we're hoping that it'll be something that the CDC can use, that'll be more effective than VAERS, and that the medical community can actually access and see, okay, well, you have blood type X, Y, and Z, you have family history of X, Y, and Z. We're gonna give you a different vaccination or a different immune retro or whatever proactive procedure than what we think this vaccination could possibly cause harm for you. So that's what we are hoping to get out of our research, on top of the service connection for our veteran family and all of the amazing data that we will gain for our global aspect of vaccination process.
Yeah, great.
So I have a question for Kevin and John both. Do you guys actually have your original shot records from the military?
Yep. Yes,
I
sir.
have one of them. I don't have all of them.
Believe it or
You
not.
remember the original shot records is that little yellow flip.
Yep.
Okay,
I have one.
Kevin, you got yours?
I have 3. I have 3 different yellow shot cards.
Okay. So the next time we meet, I'm gonna bring mine out, and I will show the dates where I was here, and between the 10 different whatever it was shots, one I gave the shots and then took the shots myself, but they're not in the shot records.
Yeah.
And all the dates are all recorded.
Okay.
Why is that? That's what I want to know is why is that?
I'll bring mine. I'll bring
All
mine.
right, yeah. I
You-
can, my, yeah,
Go-
that's not an issue.
Go ahead, Tara.
I got a question for y'all. I'm interested in what Sarah just said. Are you telling me that, I don't know from what time period, that a lot of veterans were getting adverse reactions from our own vaccinations?
Absolutely, yeah.
Tainted-
That's
And
what
they
we're
still are to
This
this
is something,
day.
Brent.
Oh, hold
I beg
on,
your
hold
pardon?
on. Everybody, hold on. There was
This is
tainted,
something that I haven't
yes,
heard. Have you, Jill?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
this is
I haven't.
tainted anthrax shots on top of everything else that they gave us. But Sarah will explain it a whole lot more. Take it away.
And the suspected Hep C
Really?
for vaccinations. Yes.
Go ahead, Sarah. Tell them all about it.
Especially those during the Vietnam era. My uncle can speak to that. He ended up getting hepatitis C as a result of something. I don't recall at this time if it was vaccination related, but it was definitely something to do with the military service. And so it is more than just Agent Orange. It is more than just sarin gas, depleted uranium, burn pits, tainted waters. It is so much more. And if you look at the VA's own public health website, they have all of them listed. All of these possible environmental causes of chronic multi-symptom illness. And that's why they changed the name. It's not Gulf War syndrome anymore. It's not Gulf War illness anymore. It's chronic multi-symptom illness. And that is what is printed on the VA's public health website.
My wife was noticing how convenient they changed the name because they don't want to boil it down to one era or one specific, because that would open up too many doors. So they keep on shutting one door and retitling it so we can throw something else, you know.
What do they call it now?
Chronic multi-symptom illness.
And here's the part that's bad. I'm not changing my Gulf War side effects page to chronic or anything.
No.
I'm just telling y'all right now, because until they come out and say, hey guys, this is what y'all awarded, we're sorry, which is never gonna happen. But I got on and I try to figure out how many hours do I work at this podcast. I really sat down and sat down how many hours. I could probably tell you I work about 40 hours a week. Last Thursday, after I got podcast, I talked to Darren till almost 1 o'clock in the morning.
Last Tuesday, you text me.
Yes, and then and then I got home. You know, I'm talking to him. I woke up next morning. I got another phone call from another vet. Then I started thinking, okay. And then I met up with y'all about Camp Lejeune and getting all this stuff, and I'm doing the research on it, everything. But here's the one thing I found out. Today, I shared about this podcast 18 different Facebook pages. 18.
That's good, isn't it?
Nice.
But I didn't get a lot of responses because out of the 18, only 7 allow me to post my podcast on there. That's the problem we're having. And I send these people messages and I'm like, look, this is about to go forward. Your thing's about to go forward. Why don't you go listen to the podcast and understand? So that's what's happening is these admins or whoever that don't allow us to connect with each other, is a problem. I don't know how to get past that.
there's 18 groups. We don't need 18 groups. We need like 3.
Yeah, 3. I do agree with that. I do agree.
And you can even do it service dedicated, whatever. But we don't need 18.
No,
right.
and like you had said, Wade, some time ago, it takes, one person to help one person to hear this. And we can only help. When I say we can only help one person at a time, it takes that communication. And it's kind of like when a comment was made about the VA, it's a huge cluster because they always want to, what's the term? They always want to try and let's add another branch. Let's add more people to concentrate on this. And it gets so wide and so big that you lose that communication. Now, Wade, like you and I agree that here in the state of Iowa, population, it's pretty small. We know that. But we agree that we get good care. And why is that? I don't know. There could be a lot of factoring points.
Because y'all are
say
small.
again? Yeah, it could be just that we're small. But like to your point, we don't need 18. And how do we condense that? I don't know. There's so many variables, and I know Kevin and Sarah. I talked to you personally on the phone one day. You know about vaccine plausible injury that I'm aware of, and I made you and asked you a question, which I will later on. I'll talk to you and Wade. I want to get some more information about that, because even today, our active duty or inactive duty, if you're reserved, whatever the case is, you're still getting poked for shots, and something happened to you. You don't know. I mean, and the military, frankly, is pretty small amount of people that, I think that's in part why it's so hard to get the information out there. Because yes, people think about it on the various holidays throughout the year, but the bottom line, until you got something hurting and you're looking for answers, meh,
Just my experience. Again, I'm sorry, Sarah.
No, it's okay. Go ahead.
I'm just throwing it out there. I mean, every Gulf War veteran that I've ever came across, whatever, they've always been like proud. Hey, I'm a Gulf War veteran. I'm Desert Storm, man. And I've never heard anybody. I'll be the first. I'd do it all over again. I'm sure Kevin and Tom say the same thing, Sarah. It's like, and then it's like you do it all over again, knowing what you know. I mean, I would do it all over again. I mean, I was in bad places, seeing bad things. But it's like, do I want my kid doing that? Probably not.
Well, I look at it. Wait, I look at it like I didn't see a whole lot of bad things. I was supply. I supplied you guys. I was your number one man. I just wanted to
Give me
say
some
that.
smokes,
that
man.
really I just wanted to say that I was number one guy,
Or beer.
Yeah, but I looked at it. It was a lesson, and a lot of people don't know this. And I'm gonna say it. It's not bragging or anything, but my last year in, I made Junior Sailor of the Year Westpac. I was ranked number one out of the whole Navy on the Western Pacific.
Nice.
That's not bragging. That's telling you I worked my ass off.
Yep.
And I come home, and when I got out, I went through a divorce. I went through a war, conflict, and I got out. I was so screwed up. But did I ever think 30 years down the road that I would have the problems I have because of it? No. Just like Tara and Jill. Did y'all ever think that y'all would go through what y'all went through? No way. And I mean, my heart breaks for y'all on that. It does. And my condolences for whatever y'all, the experience. I don't know what the experience is like for what y'all went through. And I hope I never experience it.
Kevin, you know what you're doing is a good thing, yes?
Yes, I do. I do in the bottom of my heart. And I don't do it for a good thing. I do it because I'm pissed.
Think about it. I met Jill because of Camp Lejeune, not to mention a lot of other people. She is my bestest buddy.
That's awesome.
We know each other. I've been to Ohio. We've met. You guys probably didn't. The Gulf War brought you together?
Yep.
This part.
There's something wrong with the picture that military families or veterans, if you think about it, Gulf War, Lejeune, McClellan, doesn't matter where, there's still one thing in common we all have, and that's toxic.
That's right.
Toxic issue.
But we all have each other. I know I can lean on Wade. 'Cause I'm telling you, I mean, Wade knows. And John knows I can lean on him because I'll call John anytime. It don't matter. And John answers. Sarah knows when I send her a message or I want to talk, she'll call me. I mean, I do think this is helping a lot of vets. But
Well, it's not just the vets, it's the vets and their families.
spouses. And that's the key. The spouses and the children are who suffer more than the vets.
Have they discussed about the chemicals that you guys were exposed to in the Gulf? About going down through your DNA
Now, see,
for
that's
the next
real
generation?
funny. There's a site called Go For Babies and Parents and everything. Okay,
Tara, I'll be the first one on that one. There was a real big is what they call it, ammo depot in Iraq. It was called Kamasia.
Yeah.
And that's what they're tracing it back to, trying to blame it on. There was other ammo dumps as well, but I was actually inside Kamasia, and when they blew it, probably, I don't even know, 6 kilometers, 3 miles back. But my daughter has issues, and other kids that I've talked to from other vets that were in my unit, we're actually having a 30-some whatever reunion this year down in San Antonio. For whatever reason, nobody wants to talk about it. And I don't know what that reason is. But everything I do, it's for my daughter.
You got to talk about it because talking about it makes it real.
Yes, it does. Well, it is real. It's real. And you got to talk about it. They don't talk about it. We didn't talk about it back. I was in the 82nd Airborne, and you don't talk about stuff. You just go and do. That's what you do. So, I mean, I would never change anything I ever did for the world. I'm sure John, Kevin, Sarah wouldn't either. But
I probably changed a couple of things while I was in, but I mean,
well,
yeah.
Well,
I would have joined the Coast Guard if I would have
I
known.
would have joined the Air Force instead.
Hey, Sarah, where do you live?
I'm in Washington State right now, seeking medical care for the time being. But I live in Michigan. My family, my daughters, my grandsons, they're all in Michigan. So I'm going back there in September.
Grandsons?
Yeah, what the hell? You talking about
No.
grandkids?
There's
See,
no
that's
way.
what happens. That's what happens when you start your career at the age of 17, and then you start your family at the age of 19, and then you start your medical retirement at the age of 28.
Well,
There's only, what else is left?
You know,
I love being
I got
a retired
grandkids. I mean, I know how Sarah feels. I'm young. I got grandkids.
I have great grandkids. What's that make me? Ancient?
Wade's up there like, oh yeah, whatever, you old man. But now listen to this.
Having great kids.
Me and Wade have talked, and our daughters have gone through the same exact things. And I was in the Navy, 2 different areas, but our kids have the exact same problems. Boy, them
For
doctors.
me,
Yeah.
for me, what I've experienced, especially the more you talk about it, the more people want to deny. The more people want to gaslight and say, oh no, it can't be from vaccinations. I show them my diagnosis from the VA that the VA has diagnosed me with vaccine immunoglobulin and anti-sera adverse reaction, which is a fancy way of saying vaccine injury, and they still deny. So Tara and Jill, have you seen any of those deniers, those individuals that come back and say, oh no, the government would never do that to us? Even in our own veteran community, we have deniers saying, no, there's no way that we have Gulf War illness as a result of this vaccination.
That's true.
No, there's no way you have Gulf War illness. You didn't even go to Iraq or Afghanistan.
Sarah,
So,
I got a nexus letter. You know what a nexus letter is?
Yeah.
yes,
Oh,
ma'am.
Medical opinion from an oncologist of over 35 years. In his opinion, that the one chemical was linked to my husband's cancer. The VA, they had a doctor that specialized, Jill, you know where I'm going with this. They called them SME, subject matter experts, because they couldn't afford to,
Yeah. We call them
Yes.
SMEs in the Army.
yeah, well, I got another word. But anyway, they, my subject matter expert, or my late husband's, specialized in weight loss. Well, he challenged my husband's oncologist of 35 years, that letter. And the VA challenged it because of this other doctor that they had on their paper, on their employee. So it doesn't, but Sarah, my next trip to Ohio, I need to find out where their regional office is in Michigan. And I need to stop and I need to pick up Jill. And we need to go see you, and we need to plan to do something like this outside of
Yes.
the regional office.
Yes.
Yes.
I was just going to suggest
Yeah.
that we do that. Let's do it on Veterans Day. We can do a massive march across the nation. All of us get together, every state, march on every VA regional office on Veterans Day. Now that will have one hell of an impact.
And you know
I bought a
what?
car, so I don't walk.
Yeah. But I'll drive up there and then I'll march because my feet ain't marching too far. But no, I'm serious. Sarah, that's a good point.
Sarah, you don't know how much, if all you have to do is make a couple phone calls to any media, newspaper, television station, and tell them what you're going to do at least a week or so before you do it. But you got to remember one thing, if any of you ever go this far, you've got to get the attention of the reporter, their attention within the first 15 seconds of your phone call. Because if you're just, listen, give me your number and I'll have to call you back. I've got to run right now. The first 15 seconds, you've got to get their ear where they want to listen to you. And I had to always, Jill knows this, the first time I ever went in front of a camera in 2015, I was petrified. I was by myself. I was on a 6-lane highway, 97 degrees outside, holding that sign that said Camp Lejeune Widow and a sign that said Camp Lejeune Marines are expendable, right across from the regional office in St. Petersburg, Florida. Just, hi. You know, you'd be surprised. People said I won my case because they got tired of seeing me. But see, I haven't gone away yet. And
I
even Jill
know.
knows I've been
No.
expanding.
I need some
Huh?
good ideas from you.
Oh, I've got a bunch.
Yeah,
They're
well,
they're all legal too.
that's right.
They're all legal.
Yeah.
Get
Oh, we
this,
don't
Tara.
care about that.
Yeah, YouTube, everything is legal.
Yes.
So,
Jill, it's not.
it's not what they did to us was not legal. But what we're doing is legal. But
Hey, Kevin, are you friends with me on Facebook?
I don't know.
I know you're in my group, but if you ever do become my personal friend on my personal page,
I will be.
I'm a civil person when it comes to my Camp Lejeune victims group. but I am me on my personal page.
I mean, I'm me all the time.
Well, when I'm in the public eye or whatever you want to call it, my mouth is in rehab. Let's put it that way.
You're
Okay.
doing really good. I mean, I'm telling you, it's hard for me to hold back.
I was a corrections officer for a very long time.
Oh, okay. You're
So
like a
with all due
sailor.
respect to men made me this way. That and the one Marine.
Yeah.
That and one
It was,
Marine.
it was the Marine more than
Fair
anybody
enough.
else.
Fair enough.
But no, you need to, but I'm me. I think I'm a comedian at my age. I try to smile as much as I can, but I'd like to connect with Sarah and John and Wade as far as that goes.
Yes.
Jill is, you're just a resourceful little shit, Jill. She, like I said, when she started this after her father passed, and she tells me last night on the phone that I taught her, and I didn't tell her, I pointed. That woman right there is resilient. Yes, don't let your head get, I don't want that red hair to get too big. She's resilient. If she doesn't know the answer, she finds it. I'm, on the other hand, on the phone, like I said, 8 days a week. It got so bad a couple years ago, I changed my phone number, but I still help veterans. That's why I still have this public health assessment. That's where I get a lot of my answers. But next time I come to Ohio, we need to plan something. How far up in Michigan are you? She's
I'm
about
right
an
on
hour.
the Lake Michigan side, Muskegon.
How far is that from you, Jill?
I haven't a clue.
She's at about an hour, a little over an hour south of Cleveland.
All right.
A couple hours.
About an hour and a half.
That ain't
Not
bad
bad
compared to
at
the 5,400 miles I did when I went out west.
I'm about 26 hours away, if that helps.
I'll be down
anybody.
your way soon, bro.
I know. We need to connect. So,
Hey, can I just throw this out there?
throw it out there.
Throw it out. Okay. So if you're a Gulf War veteran and you think you're having something going on or whatever, can I just promote our friend Denise Nichols? Because she is the go-to, okay?
Highway information.
I mean, that lady has devoted her life to this. And Denise Nichols, you can find her on Facebook. You can find her in any Gulf War group. And if any Gulf War veteran has a question, she's your go-to.
That's true. I tell you what,
Right?
she's been pounding for 30 years. She's pounded the
She's been
pavement
pounding them, yeah.
and everything. I mean, they almost need to do a commercial on her. They seriously do.
They do.
For anybody
like
with
three
Go
of them.
For.
There's three of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah.
Andy Hardy. Can I mention Andy Hardy?
Yeah. Darn right.
Andy Hardy is, and Ronald Brown.
Yes.
He was a paratrooper. Ronald Brown. He was. They were one of the initial people to get this going.
Yeah. I wanted to do a commercial for Denise and, do something like, and welcome to the stage, Denise Nichols, Go For veteran. She has all your information. I mean, she does. I mean, that's one thing about her.
Oh, you want to know what kind of toilet paper to use in '96? She has it. I mean,
everything. I have never seen somebody that has paid the pavement until now, Tara. I mean, your book, her book, I mean, full of information. But that's what we need.
Wait, whoa. You said Sarah has a book?
No. I said Tara, like Tara's book. If you look at Tara, she's holding up that book. And that's kind of like Denise. Denise has a book.
She's not holding it up.
Yeah, hold up your book, Tara.
Tara, hold up your book for everybody.
Yeah.
What, my PHA?
That's right. She has the information
Oh,
on Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
It's about the water, but you got to read the chemicals in there
That's right.
and what they do to the human body.
I can't pronounce them. I read them.
Yeah,
I can't
and,
pronounce
Well,
yeah.
instead of trichloroethylene, just say TCE.
I was gonna say TC. That one I knew. Thank you. Where
I
were you
didn't-
on that?
You're very
John?
welcome.
And that's just it. On top of all this, I mean, look, now the Camp Lejeune people are connecting with us. Everybody's connecting one way or another. We need to keep connecting, keep bringing it up. And I mean, I welcome it. All Go For vets. Whoever wants to come on this program, come and talk. If they don't want to, they can email me. Hell, my phone number, I put it out on the live air. You know, they can call me at any time.
Yeah, and I wore this shirt specifically because you guys, I've told you guys this before. So when the unit I was in, which was the 249th Engineers, which was assigned to the Big Red one from Germany to the Gulf War, and I was one of the backfillers, so I don't have any recollection of the people. I have a few names that I can remember, but the names themselves, like it's been over 30 years, we've all changed. I mean, some of y'all got very pretty and very masculine. I kind of went up the ugly stick a little bit, so I'm like, I'm not going to remember a picture. And I'm hoping people out there, hey, that guy was with engineers with the 249th, which is now, I think, up on the East Coast somewhere. But it's like, yes, trying to reconnect with those folks because I have a crappy memory and I don't have records that's going to show me unless there's awards given to them. And I happen to be on the same award letter. Because remember, I don't know, let's see,
Yeah.
I think when you're given your award, it gives
Yeah.
your name and your social security number, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we all have, a lot of us have those same awards with people's social security, which is scary as shit in today's world, you know?
You wouldn't believe the number of credit cards I have. Just kidding.
You know,
Damn, Wade.
oh man, but you know what? It's almost. I'm glad we can all come on here and laugh because that's what we need in life. I mean, like I tell everybody, every time I take a step, I think of the VA. Every time because I mean, when I walk, my feet burn. But I get up every morning and I look in that mirror and I say, what a handsome man. No, I don't say that. But I say, no, I do. I get up and I'm up, I'm moving, and I'm like, it's going to be a good day. It's going to be good. I look forward to every day I can get up and walk because I know one day I'm not going to be able to. And then somebody's going to carry my, butt. That's all I could tell you because I ain't rolling around no scooter. I'll get John to come down and carry my little butt around. But
Hey, Sarah, the regional office in Michigan's in Detroit. You know that, right?
Yes, ma'am. You know what else is in Michigan? The manufacturer of the anthrax vaccine.
No kidding.
Is there?
Oh, really?
Oh!
Wow.
Hey, Jill, you feel like going to Detroit someday?
No.
Well,
No
I'm gonna
one
stop by
does.
and pick your happy
That's
self
like the
up.
hell on earth. Who would go to Detroit?
I've been there
I've
plenty
been
of
through
times.
there before, yeah.
But I do. I mean, I know it's getting close to the end of the program. And Jill, Jill, Terry, do y'all have anything to add?
I would just like to say I loved the suggestion about everybody staying in their home state and doing something on the same day because they've had like Operation Stand Together before and different groups tried to go to Washington. And I think it's wonderful, but there's so many people feel left out because they're battling illnesses, and because of their illness or treatments, they can't go far from home, or because they're flat out broke from the medical expense that they can't travel and they feel left out. And I figure, I don't care if you're standing downtown at your local Walmart, as long as you're out there promoting the cause, because every day you find somebody that don't know what they were exposed to, or they're just learning about it. And they'll tell you, I thought I was nuts. I thought I was losing my mind. I'm so glad you guys had a Facebook group or something I could reach out to and ask questions. And that's, you know, a lot of people say, oh, social media is so negative, but this is a positive of it, because
Amen.
you connect to people and you confirm what's going on and find out you've been lied to. One of the big issues we have is people go to pull their records to prove they were on Camp Lejeune for the 30 total days. And they're being told their records burn up in a fire. Well, if I count, this fire has lasted 25 years now.
You know?
The fire happened way back, and it only affected Army and Air Force records. The only way the Marine and Navy records burn up is if they were misfiled in the first place. And so it's like they're going through this obstacle of just trying to prove they were there to even qualify, you know, for the health care or try and file for compensation. And that's where your social media groups, and Facebook seems to be the most popular one to reach people. And as you all know, with the PACT Act pending, there's an abundance of attorneys out there that's running these ads.
Well, the ambulance chasers are getting ridiculous lately.
You know, that they would help you. And that's when I just sat down one night, ran across one ad, and I started reading the comments, and I was taken back so bad. It hit me hard. I knew there was people out there that didn't know anything about it. But when I read the comments like, oh my God, I just lost my dad 2 months ago to bladder cancer. Are you telling me it was from the water? Or my sister just died of breast cancer and she don't carry the gene for breast cancer. You tell me it came from that water? And it's like, they don't, you know, they're clueless. And then they start reading and they see where they're constantly blaming it on these dry cleaning. And they're thinking, okay, how many chemicals was possibly in that dry cleaner? And I try to reach out and educate them. The dry cleaners was just a small fraction of what you were exposed to. And as you was talking about earlier, you know, bathing, the skin is the largest organ in the human body. And just showering and swimming, and, you know, scleroderma is one. This absorbed, you know, and when I was in elementary school in science, we learned what goes in comes out. But yet they want to keep denying everybody of the colon cancer, the gastric cancers, the esophageal cancers. You tell me how it went in up here and comes out down there, and it totally bypassed your gastric area.
Right.
I mean, these common sense things, but they want to, oh, there's no way them chemicals could have affected your esophagus, or it couldn't have affected your colon, or, well, where did it go? And when you connect all these, the burn pits, the Gulf War, and so many illnesses are exactly the same. What's the connection? Well, some believe it's because, you know, for instance, 2 of my cousins served in the Marines. Not only were they contaminated on Camp Lejeune, they got sent to Vietnam, and then they got Agent Orange. So when you go to file claims, it's another delay. Well, you have to file this under Agent Orange. You have to file this under Camp Lejeune. And yet all these veterans have the same thing.
And that's very right. It's just like, that's what I'm saying. The Gulf War veterans at Camp Lejeune got triple whammied. I mean, if you really think about it, the base, the shots, and the Gulf War.
I want to give Sarah an idea,
All right, Sarah.
if I may. And you.
Oh, here we go.
Oh, what? We don't have to give women ideas?
No, I'm not saying that. No,
Oh, not me.
not no
Hey, you might
Marine's
be the
wife.
veterans. Sarah,
Yeah.
I'm getting educated on stuff from the Gulf War. just like for the last few months, I've been getting educated on Fort McClellan. Well, this is one thing that was made, how long has it been out, Jill? 2 years, maybe? But this is one of the things, I had it blown up. They were made into flyers, if you can see it. On this column, it's gonna be hard with this chair. On one side, it gives 15 illnesses that if a dependent or a child, or a family member, I should say, they can get free medical care from the VA. If a veteran only,
About that when I return, but
all right, right here,
continue. Tara.
these are 15 right here, veteran or dependent. This one right here are 8. This is for a veteran only. If they have one of these 8 illnesses, they are entitled to not only free medical care, but compensation. But this is a little what Camp Lejeune advocates have been doing. I mean, I started it 8 years ago, and even Jill will tell you, so many people, because I quit beating the pavement over 2 years ago. I have traveled so much in all these years, but there's so many good people have come out and have had signs made up and are scheduling these rallies. We call them awareness campaigns, and we're educating people that walk by. This is what I think would be a good idea for Gulf War veterans.
Yeah, what we've started is we go to different events, whether it's a veteran or civilian event.
Yes.
We speak at the American Legion, DAV, and VFW, and anyone else that will allow us to. But what my team just discovered this last board member meeting was that we make a lot more headway doing speeches instead of going and doing events, like have an information table. So I think if we did something like that rally and have a specific event for that, and have other informational booths for Gulf War illness, and do it on a day like Veterans Day, where we will know, it depends on if that day is a weekday or not. It's not a federal holiday. People still work on Veterans Day. So we know that people will be in the building. They'll be hearing what we have to say. And from what we've experienced in the past, if you go and do a speech or an event at one of our capitals, they're not going to come out and speak. They're not going to come out, and even
Remember,
if you ask them to come out and speak, they won't come out and speak.
If you use a bullhorn, you got to have a permit.
Yes.
Really?
Yep.
Yes.
You gotta have a permit just to go out on the sidewalk in front of a
Microphone.
building.
I don't need a bullhorn.
And even
I
our
don't
own
either.
VA, our VA, every veteran organization, just about I've reached out to, including the DAV and VFWs, many American Legions, many nonprofits, and they all come back and say, well, if we do this without the VA's approval, we'll get our funding cut. Or if we do this, it's going to make us look bad and it'll get our funding cut. Because of the nature of our mission, if we come out and say vaccines injure, and others come out and say vaccines injure, there's so much fear that they'll lose their funding that they don't even want to do anything with us.
That's sad.
I had
And
a
it's-
reporter ask me one time, well, it was Steve Andrews that did 4 reports in the Tampa News. He asked me when we were taking a break one day, he says, Tara, aren't you concerned that between you and me, you might piss off the VA and you'll lose your benefits? I said, oh, bring it on.
That's what I
Because,
said.
You know, that's just bring it on. That's retaliation. You know,
I'm also a cannabis patient, so I'm the red-haired stepchild. And I'm very adamant about advocating for not just myself, but my fellow veterans. And I'm very loud about it. And I had thought about going onto the VA's platform, going right at their front door and doing a picket, doing a rally. But we would be turned away. I've asked the VA specifically, can we put
Turned away
out more
from who?
information? The RISC has their own pamphlets that they've placed out stating that anthrax vaccine could possibly cause blah, blah, blah. But they never come out and say X, Y, and Z. This is what happens. So what Operation Truth is much like your flyer that you made into a sign. We did that same thing. Is we put information flyers together, showing the correlation and the pattern of what the adjuvants that were placed in those vaccinations can cause. The civilian sector and every vaccination that is produced in this country and abroad has what they call an insert inside. And this vaccine insert has everything from the ingredients listed to these adverse events. And so what I did and my team did is we put together several different flyers that show the correlation and the pattern between the aluminum adjuvant, the squalene adjuvant, and a personal patient, myself, and the medical conditions that correlate between those vaccine inserts and what they have shown adverse events from other individuals. And so what we've seen is that there's a lot of the same pattern. And for my pattern, it's shown a significance of being along the same of those squalene adjuvant. And so I know because I have the proper documentation and I was able to get those lot numbers. I have 3 lot numbers of the 6 anthrax vaccines that I've actually have recorded. I have nothing recorded for my basic training vaccinations. And so who knows how many anthrax vaccines, among other things, I received there too. But the key is the lot number so that we can determine what ingredients were in those vaccines that could have caused X, Y, and Z medical conditions.
Yeah, and I mean, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start on that one, man. Right, Wade? I mean, it's just, oh God.
I hear you, brother. I mean, Sarah's
really almost.
Sarah knows what she's talking about, man.
Yeah, I mean,
One more thing I want to tell you how the VA is working against us. I don't know if you guys knew about it, but the Gulf War the Gulf War Conservatorium, whatever big name they have an engagement session every quarter or so when they decide to have it. They've been having these engagement sessions since before COVID back in 2019, where you can call in and tell them what you would like the Secretary of the VA to know. So I checked, and every engagement session I called in was either removed from the minutes, didn't have a video recording, or it was just totally removed, or my name was redacted. The information I stated was redacted, if it was even put in the minutes at all. So needless to say, we have the VA working against us on every level. We can't even get them to promote what we're trying to through the engagement session for the Secretary of the VA.
I took an hour out of work so I can be on there to talk. And I went in there. I don't even think mine's been at it because I went off on my tangent and the rage was getting to me. And I said, well, guess what? I said, it's fine. I'm going to podcast about this next week on Go For Side Effects podcast. And these guys were like, what? And I'm like, people were typing in there saying, oh, yeah, he has a podcast. And that lady was, because I got so angry, she was like, oh, my husband, he had neuropathy. There's nothing that we can do for you. And that's why I went on my tangent. It's like, that's not what the hell I want to hear. And everything. So, at this, I need to wrap it up. I'm going to give Wade, do you got anything you want to add?
Absolutely. I don't want all these veterans out there, and we do. We have a lot of veterans out there. Hopefully they're watching, and they're bitter. And you know me, it's not bitter, it's better. Let's just keep moving forward, doing what we're doing, and just keep going forward, man. That's all we can do. Amen.
Sarah?
I just want to say thank you to both Tara and Jill for coming on and expressing the concerns of these environmental exposures. This can't and is not the only time that it has occurred when we talk about water contamination or other environmental hazards. They don't just occur overseas, and they are most definitely happening right here in our own country. So thank you so much for bringing that to our attention and for all the hard work you've done on accomplishing what you have so far.
Amen.
Thank you, Sarah.
John?
Yeah, no, thank you, Jill and Tara, for coming on. And I don't know, again, my memory sucks. One of y'all mentioned earlier about when you go to a CMP exam to get a copy of your records, because it won't be the same conversation you had. I think that is extraordinarily important. Keep good records.
Things
Especially-
disappear conveniently.
Yes. Yes, definitely keep good track of your records. Because it'll pay off in the long run.
Yep.
Jill?
Even your appointment letters.
Yes. Yes. Jill?
I'll tell you that story some other time.
Yeah. Jill, you got anything to add?
Thank you for having us on and allowing us to tell our story and get the word out. And thank you all for your service. I greatly appreciate it.
Thank you
Ditto.
for your support.
Tara?
Yeah. Thank you all for coming on and sharing.
Thank you for having us, guys. Appreciate it. Enjoyed it very much.
Likewise.
Good night.
And one thing about it, I love each and every one of y'all. Thank you. Thank you for
Thank
y'all.
you for helping us.
Hey, thank y'all for supporting us and supporting our, your parents, your husbands, your sons, and your brothers and your sisters out there, your uncles, your aunts, cousins. It doesn't matter. All of us need to stick together, love one another, and be peaceful with each other. And let's get after it. Let's
Make a lot of noise.
make a lot of noise.
Thank you for helping us help others.
Anytime, and y'all welcome back. And we're going to be doing an update on it, on this
Great.
story. So I want everybody to have a great night.
Sarah, be in touch.
Mhm.
All right.
Take care,
Sounds
everyone.
good.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Y'all please go to my website at goal4sideeffects.wordpress.com or email me at kevinsimon@goal4sideeffects.com. And please help support this podcast and the veterans by clicking on the link below. Thank you for your support.